We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome to the Tuesday, November 21st council meeting of the City of Windom. This evening, I don't think we have anything else to add to the agenda. Okay. Consent agenda includes the minutes of the following. Council minutes, November 7th. Community Center Commission, November 13th. EDA, November 13th. Planning Commission, November 14th. Library Board, November 14th. And the regular bills. Any questions?
I'd make a motion to approve the consent agenda and regular bills.
I'll second it.
Motion Jenny, second by Scott. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Department heads. Okay. Planning Commission. There was a variance at 1453 4th Avenue, a variance request.
Good evening, Andrew Spielman, Building and Zoning Official. So I've included in your packet this evening a variance request that was submitted by Mike Bogle as the property owner at 1453 4th Avenue in Windom. The request is to allow for an additional storage building on the property. There's already two storage buildings on the property, a garage and then a 12 by 20 accessory building or storage building. The property owner moved in a smaller white shed. If you've been by the property, there's a white shed that's on the property. He didn't obtain a permit from the city for that, so the city contacted him and said that, you know, all buildings in Windom, storage sheds like that, require a permit. And then when I did a little more looking at the property and in code, since there's already two what we would call detached accessory buildings on the property, adding a third one would require a variance. So Mr. Bogle did decide to submit the variance application. Included in your packet was the application. The second page of the application is kind of a questionnaire that we have applicants fill out. Those are all of the things that between city code and state statute, the planning commission and council have to find these things true before they can approve an application like this. The last question on there is specific to variances, and that's that the applicant has established there are practical difficulties and there's something unique about the property. On the application, he checked yes, and he listed the house fire and removal of the house as the practical difficulty and the unique characteristic of his property. At the last planning commission meeting, and those minutes were also included in your packet, the planning commission held a public hearing. Following public comment and comments from Mr. Bogle, the planning commission did unanimously vote to recommend the council deny the variance. And that's based on the findings of fact that there is nothing unique about the property and that there are no practical difficulties with the property as set forth in city code. So the recommendation from Planning Commission would be to deny the variance for the additional structure on the property.
First, I'll ask council, do you have any questions for Andy? And this is not a hearing.
Correct.
Any questions? I think it's pretty straightforward. We have a recommendation from the Planning Commission to deny the variance request from Mr. Bogle. Once again, I'll ask any final questions. Is there a motion to deny and follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission?
I'll make a motion to follow the recommendation of the planning commission to deny the permit.
Second.
Okay, I'll take Scott's motion and I'm gonna take Jim's. Second? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. What else you got, Andy?
Oh, that's it for tonight.
Well, thank you, sir. We have a street closure request from ALC Church Living Nativity for December 13th, 2023. And that was, I think the approvals were completed from the street and the chief. Okay. Yep. Everybody's giving me a thumbs up in the back. Appreciate that. Council wish to take action.
I'd make the motion to approve the street closure.
I'll second.
Motion Marv, second by Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have the fire department. This is regarding the SCBA compressor replacement. Ben, you got some numbers?
Ben Derrickson, Fire Chief. Yes, I do have some numbers. Included in your packet was 2 quotes for the 2 different compressors. Now, this is just a compressor unit, not replacing the fill station as we talked last meeting. After some research that I did on these, I'm recommending that we do the more expensive model. It's 5 stages instead of 4. It's a bigger, faster compressor. It's quieter. It should have a longer life expectancy. The smaller or less expensive unit would basically be identical to the unit that we have, or very close to it, which it works, but it's not designed to run the capacities that we actually run at. You can make it do it, but it's going to take some life out of the compressor as well. So with that, that's why I'm recommending going with the revolve air compressor versus a pivot air compressor.
And for council like me, the mayor who doesn't remember what the prices are, could you go over them?
Yes, I can. The pivot air compressor is $38,737.35. The revolve air is $44,926.09. There will be some additional charges, basically just for the electrician to come in, rewire in the new unit. I did talk with him a couple of days ago about it. He's not expecting more than about an hour and a half's worth of work. So.
Any questions from the council other than how are we going to pay for it? Is I think what the question is. Jenny?
No, I guess my one question is, how quickly can this come in then too? Do we have to have some kind of backup thing in mind till we get it, or is it going to be here quickly?
Don't know exactly on dates, but when I talked to the company about it, they were going to do once we place the order, they'll do a rush order on it as a replacement needed, as ours is broke down. So they're expecting about 3 weeks, but it could be anywhere from 3 to 12 weeks. But we're hoping for closer to the 3.
What's your backup plan until then, until it arrives?
Right now, the unit is still working. Like we talked last meeting, a couple weeks ago, I believe it was. We lost the 4th stage on that compressor. To put in comparison a little bit on what that 4th stage does, we just had that fire in Delft. We used probably about 15 air bottles that day. We refilled those, and then the next day I went to fill the storage tanks that we have on site that we use to fill our bottles. which generally would take about an hour and a half to fill. It took 12 and a half hours to refill those bottles. So it's a very lengthy process right now with the way it's working, and it's still not getting it up to the pressure that we need because we've lost that fourth stage. We're getting up to 4,500 instead of 55 to 6,000. So, I did talk with Prax Air and some of those other entities. They cannot fill to the PSI ratings that we need. I have talked with a few of the other area departments. Heron Lake actually has a mobile unit that they have in a trailer that they could fill our SCBAs. They couldn't fill our bottles, but if our compressor would go down and not work anymore at all, they would be able to fill our bottles for us. Or we can take them down to Jackson and they'd be able to fill them for us as well. So I do have a backup plan if need be.
Mark?
Ben, are you totally convinced spending the extra 7,000 is going to be worth it?
With the research that I've done, yes, I am. I think it's well worth it. I think we'll get an additional, this is my opinion, but I believe we'll get an additional 7 to 10 years out of the life of that compressor versus the other one. And it's actually built to fill to the pressures that we're using instead of one that'll work for it. It's working extremely hard to get that extra 500 to 600 psi out of it. So I think it's well worth the investment.
How much, if you fill it with the one you have now, just up to 4,500 or whatever it is, how long would that bottle last?
We are getting our SCBAs, the bottles that we wear, up to the proper pressure. We fill those to 4,500. Our storage tanks that we use to fill those tanks, we fill to 6,000. So we haven't lost any capacity as far as us going in and fighting any fires or anything like that yet.
How many bottles do you have?
We have 40 bottles, SCBA bottles, the little bottles that we have on our backs. And we have 13 of the bigger storage bottles. There's 9 that are in the SCBA room at the hall, and then there's 4 of them on one of our trucks, so we can fill when we're on scene as well.
The ones you have, that you get up to 6,000 that you use to fill your tanks, do you use like a cascade method to bring it down and so forth? And then, I mean, I used to work with oxygen a lot when I was in service, and usually what ends up happening is somebody don't do it all the same, and all of a sudden all your bottles are on the bottom that are empty, or well, we had to change the whole bottle, which meant you had to take everything apart to do. I don't know, $7,000, that's,
We do cascade when we fill, whether it's on the trucks or on site or at the hall. We do go through the process of cascading them. So you fill off of one bottle up to a certain pressure. Once that gets up to the pressure or whatever's left in that tank, you basically shut that one off. You go to the next one and fill it, and that's how you cascade it. Oh.
Okay. Somebody gonna ask the question?
Steve,
Steve?
do we
Your
have
turn.
in our 2024 tax levy proposed, do we have enough room to fund in the capital improvement plan the more expensive model?
So there's a memo in your packet. Cheryl and I have been working on budget since the last workshop, and now that we've got our labor agreement settled and we got our hard numbers for our insurance, our property casualty, things like that, we had a little bit of wiggle in there. So in the memo that I put in, I provided you this evening, there's opportunity, I think, that we could fit it in if we stay at that same 5.6 that the council approved at that workshop. Now, you certainly could, if you choose to fund it, could take it out of reserves and then not put it in the 24 budget, but as our reserves are right at that 46% number, if you can fit it in the budget, that was our recommendation. One of the things we did do to fit this in is we took out the $2,700 for the back door at the fire hall, or at the city hall, because we used a door from the electric department. And then we had, Andy was good enough about helping to get that put in with the contractor. So we got that done and should be able to reduce that cost, so we took that out. What brings us right up to that 5.6 number would be 40,000. So the little more expensive one, we're gonna have to either find some offsetting cost or fund it reserve, or, make some other change in one of the fire department budget line items or something to make that fit. I know the memo I put in 38 to 44 because that was the range of his quotes. But Cheryl and I had the numbers today. I looked at it, and with the 40,000 in there, puts us right at that 5.6 number. So, but we could fit it in if that's what you so choose to do.
Well, I personally think taking 45,000 out of the reserve is too big a number. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and put it in the 2024 capital improvement plan.
Is there a second to that? That was a motion, right?
I can make it a motion.
I'll second.
One thing that I look at, is we're talking about the life of people that are saving lives for us. So it's things like this. It's very hard to say no, but I think that I appreciate what Steve looked for to see if we could fit this in because of some other savings, and I appreciate that. So with that, other questions, council? I'm going to get...
Just want to make a quick comment. With the cold weather and the heating season coming up, and with our fire department going out on fire calls, and like you said, Mayor, we got to protect our fire department because they are our citizens here in town too. So you can't put a price on a life. And if it's something they dearly need, they dearly need it. There's nothing we can do about the old one going down, but it's something we have to have.
Thank you. Other comments? Or Jenny, you had something?
Yep, I just, if we can forward fund the 40,000 to get that going, then do you think 5,000, there's about 5,000, are you gonna be able to somehow work that in, you think? Somehow in your budget? That's still like a lot of, 5,000 is still a good chunk of money, but is there anything you can try to work around in your budget to make that extra 5,000 work?
That really depends on what breaks down next year. I'd like to say, yeah, but the way the trucks have been the last 3-4 years, they've been expensive. So I'd like to say yes, but I don't know.
Well, he would like to say yes. So, maybe we could do that by charging. What do they normally transfer, Steve? Is it 100,000 or 200,000?
100.
Oh, it's
They also have
100,000.
some debt service coming up.
No, I understand that, but I don't know if 104,000 would hurt them. If the council wants a way to pay for it. Oh, he gave me the shoulder shrug. Does that mean it's okay? is the council worried about the 4,000? I mean, budgets are budgets. I think it can go either way, but
I guess,
Steve,
You put additional dollars in other capital equipment. I mean, you put
Yeah.
34,000 in the fire, the wildland truck. There was 160,000, I think, in the tanker. If you want, I mean, I know you don't want to transfer money out of one of those projects into this, but this came up and, I think we did as good as we could to accommodate, obviously, the vast majority of that. That would be another place without kind of dinging another department, but that's these folks' decision, so.
I think we can fit it in with what we have. Council agree? We don't have to have that all covered, do we, Steve? Or, I mean, you're really close with the proposed budget.
Right, we don't really have any wiggle in the budget in excess of 40,000.
Okay, so my question,
So
I guess,
either
is
it's
do you
gonna have
want
to
us to
come out of
find?
operational, well, again, for Ben's sake, this is a need now.
Yeah.
So if we fund 40,000 and the other, if you approve the $44,000 compressor or $45,000 compressor, if you don't want to find another home for $5,000, it's gonna have to come out of his budget, and then when we get to that point,
Then
maybe
you
in
said-
October of next year, and hey, we had this truck go down or we had this other cost, you may be coming back. But if everything goes okay, goes according to oil, maybe you can make it and squeeze it by. That's kind of where I'm sitting with it, from what I'm reading from these folks.
I didn't know if you were just trying to balance everything out right now. I mean, understanding that it can be
We'll fund it
Down
out
the
as
road.
the rest
Yep.
is and come back if we have.
if we have to. Okay, sounds good. Okay, was there a motion and a second? That's what I thought. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, and that carries. Okay. Get it ordered the way it sounds to me.
Thank you much.
is there a delivery fee also on that, $750 or something was written in? We're gonna have to cover that somehow too, or?
There's an install fee, and shipping cost and all that, and that's all figured into that 44,926.09. So the only thing that'll be up and above that will be the electrician. So, and that should be pretty minor, so.
Are you happy with it?
Am I happy with what?
You can do toys.
I think he's happy with the 44,000, or the go-ahead, yes.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to plan for it.
Okay. Personnel, on-call, community center. Steve,
Okay, thank you. Mr. Schneider was not feeling well today, so he asked me to cover this for him. Community Center's asking for, again, just one of the part-time folks on call to hire, to have available in case they need folks to flip, from one day to the next. He's recommending hiring Jeff Wright for paid on-call part-time at $12.50 an hour.
any questions? Okay, council wish to take action on hiring Jeff Wright.
I'd make the motion to hire Jeff Wright at $12.50.
I'll second it.
And that is as needed on call. Okay, and a second by Scott. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Contractor payments, first one, Des Moines Force Main Crossing, Hodgman Drainage Company. This is payment number 2, and this is a final. That amount of $9,653.80. And that's recommended by the Utility Commission for approval.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Any questions? Hearing none, a motion to approve is in order.
I would make the motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion Marv, second Scott, to approve the Hodgman Drainage Company payment number 2, which is final. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Liquor store, number 1, and believe it or not, this is not a change order. This is a pay request number 1 for Susner Construction in the amount of $111,552.32. Council?
I'll make a motion to pay the liquor store construction Stuster outfit.
I'll second.
Motion Scott, seconded by Jenny to approve the pay request number 1 for Susner Construction. Any questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any new business? Any new business, Steve? Old business? Okay, council comments. Scott?
Just again with heating and cold weather coming on, just be careful with when you're doing space heaters and stuff like that, so we don't have more fires going on, stuff like that. With the Thanksgiving season upon us, if you have a neighbor or an elderly person around you, or just somebody that might need a plate full of food to give thanks for, just try to be generous and help out wherever you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Jenny?
I was just going to mention that I was at the Southwest Regional Development Commission meeting last week that I sit on to represent the city. Some of the things that I gathered from that meeting, Jackson County Commissioner was there and talked about how on the ballot for 2024, they are going to have a 1% sales tax on the ballot to see where they or what they can do with that. I know that's something we've kind of thrown around as discussion in years past, so that would be something to look to see what happens with that with Jackson County. They're looking at funding their new jail. I think they said the 1% sales tax, if passed, could generate approximately $640,000 a year for them. And then another thing, the Private Industry Council was there and talked about a recent study of high school graduates from 2009 to 2012, which is like old, but they said by the time the study gets done, they get it all together and get it out. That's their recent data. That Southwest Minnesota is only retaining 25% of our graduates to stay and work in Southwest Minnesota. So I think that's a big push as far as trying to find a way to retain our young people and let them know about jobs that we have in Southwest Minnesota to try to keep them here. And I did pass along to Steve, there was a survey that the Private Industry Council had. So I did take that survey and I passed it along, so he can give that to Tiffany too, so we can kind of get more information, kind of ranks as far as what priorities to try to get young people, like getting the knowledge out there, what kinds of things can we do to help with recruiting, retaining, and stuff, our young people to work in our communities. And then the other thing that they just commented on, which I think we know, that the low unemployment rate in Southwest Minnesota is between 1.7 and 3.3 in pretty much all of Southwest Minnesota, except for Cottonwood County. We stand out because of High Life's closure. We were at 7.4%. So just things I picked up from the meeting and thought, since I go to those meetings all the time, I would pass along the information that I do gather from them. So it is helpful, I think, to attend. And then just wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah, I, with Jenny, wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving, especially the veterans and people that are overseas and the way things are in the world right now. I'm not wishing it on anybody to be there, but because I think but anyway, happy Thanksgiving to all.
Thank you, Jim. Marv?
Thanks to the electric department for making it look like a little bit like Christmas downtown, even before Thanksgiving. So, yeah, Thanksgiving to everybody, and safe travels.
Steve?
Just thanks for everything everybody does for the city, and appreciate all the folks in town reaching out and helping their neighbors as they can, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
And from the mayor's desk, we wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. Be kind to your neighbors, give them a helping hand as needed, and everybody take care, drive safe, and eat lots of turkey. See you next time.